I understand. Right.
So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, our first in a series of webinars where we're talking everything careers advice. So in today's webinar, we'll be talking about unlocking your potential, the power of work experience for young people, ultimately how we're looking to sort of support people to transform careers here with the Pathway Group. So as an introduction, my name is Martin Chandler. I'm the Chief Engagement and Enrichment Officer and the Careers Leader here at Pathway Group. And I'm joined with my colleague here, Roger Worton, who is a Careers Advisor. My relationship with Roger spans over the best part of, nearly 10 years now, isn't it, Roger?
Correct,
that we've been working together. But if I can ask you just to give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, please.
Okay, no problem. As Martin said, my name is Roger Worton, and I'm the Careers Advisor for Pathway Group. I've been doing careers, offering career services for over 20 years, believe it or not. But I've always tried to provide the best support to ensure that people like yourself gain the best opportunities with regards to careers. And I use the word careers rather than jobs because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the pathway through your careers. I do that by giving you a careers education, information, advice, impartial but well informed, as I say, and the main thing is that I try and personalize it. So I treat you all as individuals, not as just a group of people that I just offer standard stuff to. I try and make sure it's personalized, and I look forward to presenting or discussing for the next few minutes, and also for you to come and talk to me one-to-one whenever you wish.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Roger. So as we've mentioned, today's session is all about that sort of that power of work experience.
Yes.
We're hoping to sort of shed that light and how to help develop that understanding of gaining your work experience, why it's important, what it's all about, really. And sort of to jump straight in there, Roger, and start quizzing you. As I say, we worked together for the past 10 years, very much in terms of giving advice and guidance, supporting those young people.
Yes.
And it's always very pivotal that information does help them, in some cases, sort of transform those jobs into careers. We have a bit of a saying here, a job, a better job, a career. And that's very much what we look at through sort of the private training industry that we work in, of how we support people to progress through into those. So, Roger, the first question I've got to ask you then, really. So from a point of view of a young person then, so what is work experience?
Yeah, well, let's just go back a little bit. When you're browsing job adverts, you may well notice that as well as your qualifications and bits and pieces, they're looking for various levels of work experience. As you progress your career, you get more and more work experience, granted, but the fact is that quite often, maybe at school or at college, you haven't had work experience, perhaps because of COVID or whatever, but you do really need that work experience to start things rolling. So work experience is extremely important, and the definition really of work experience is really making sure you get the practical skills involved in jobs and careers. Without that, you're not going to get as far as you wish, and also you're not going to get a kind of idea of whether you like the job or not. Without you getting hands-on experience, it's very difficult to understand that. And quite often the case that people have started a work or an apprenticeship without prior work experience, and they've found it very difficult to engage. And sometimes they thought, well, no, I don't like this. So it's very important to get that work experience beforehand, so that you know when you're going into particularly your first job, but into a career that you've thought about for many weeks, many months, many years, and to get that hands-on participation. The important thing is it also, all the learning you've done at school or at college or maybe university, that you can actually put that into place through practical experience. It's really, really important. So basically, the work experience is giving you opportunity to find out what the job is really like, the career is really like, but also to actually use that knowledge and experience that you've previously had, as I say, in education or training, into the real world. And I think it's very, very important you do that. And I
Yeah.
think it's the way forward. Without that work experience, it is going into the unknown, isn't it, Martin?
It certainly is. And I know from the conversation we had a little bit earlier on this morning, where we were
Yes,
talking about work experience. For me, I've been in sort of education training for the past sort of 20 years. I would class that as my sort of elements of work experience. So a bit
yes,
later on, we may, start to refer to CV writing or sort of covering letters as well. And
yes,
it's all part of that sort of job and sort of career process. But those
yes,
experiences, it isn't just obviously what happens. I know back in school I had 2-week work experience placement. It isn't just that. It's how you then sort of develop these skills. And I know it
yes,
is very much about the knowledge, skills, and behaviour, something that's very sort of aligned with the apprenticeships. And it is the sort of exposure, the development of these sort of things that you don't necessarily learn in the classroom, and applying them to
absolutely,
that work
absolutely,
environment as well. But
absolutely.
no,
We'll
all
talk a
those sort
bit
of
more about
very
that.
valuable.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely,
talk a bit
definitely,
more
as we
about that
sort of
later.
go
Yeah,
through, yeah.
yeah.
So then, Roger, tell me who essentially is that work experience for then?
Yeah, well, we've touched upon it, and I think all the people that are listening to this, engaging in this, will know. Obviously, it's looking at your career options. So it could well be just work experience at school or at college and that kind of thing, which should be offered to everybody. And due to COVID and other aspects, they aren't always. So that's the first bit. Also, for people that are out of work. Yeah. So, particularly if they're looking to change their careers. Yeah. So, say you've been working in warehousing and for whatever reason you're unemployed at the moment, you may think to yourself, well, yes, warehousing was okay, but I want to do something else. So it's an opportunity then to look at a different option and to get an understanding of what the job role is, rather than just going on the internet and checking out um,
Yeah.
what they tell you it's like. Also looking for your first job. So there are various, which we'll talk about later, various ways in which you can actually get work experience prior to your first proper employment as well. Also, returning to work after a break. We may be talking about that maybe mothers that have had to take off time to raise their children. It could be someone who's had a break because they wanted to travel around Europe, for example, or it could be due to medical reasons. So, if you've had a longish break, again, you may have reflected about what you were doing in previous roles and thinking, well, I want to have a change. So that's another reason to identify the opportunity of having work experience placements.
So really, you're
Okay.
saying it is there for anyone and everyone that's looking for those sort of opportunities, isn't it really? When they're
Yes.
looking for change
Yeah.
or they're looking for new, it is
Yes.
those sort of opportunities that
Yes.
are there. And you will
Sure.
find as we sort of go through a lot
Yes.
of, so when we start talking about work experience, it is sort of those sort of crossovers, isn't it? Of who's it
Sure.
for, why,
Yeah.
what its purpose is as well,
Yes.
and what those sort of benefits are. But
Yeah.
so tell me, Roger, just sort of go through. So why is it important? So me as a young person wanting to
Yes.
sort of gain a career in, I mean, you mentioned construction before. So if I wanted
Sure.
to go into construction, why is it important for me to have that experience in the first place, really?
Well, as we've touched upon already, it's to test out your career ideas, really. Okay, you want to go in construction. I mean, as a careers advisor, if you came up to me and said, I want to do carpentry, for example, I would talk to you, look at your CV if you've got one, and look at what experience you've already had, whether it's in the classroom at school, doing your level 2 carpentry, or maybe at college.
Mhm.
Um, and also just check out if you've had any work experience. You may be fortunate to have some work experience prior to talking to me with your uncle or maybe your auntie who's a carpenter and helping that, or some similar skills like that as well. So I think it's a good way to test out your career ideas, because, as I've said earlier, people have ventured into careers or first job thinking, oh, I've always wanted to do that, and found out after a couple of days or even after an hour or so, particularly things like childcare or adult care, where it's particularly in your face, and it's very difficult, not for everybody. And it's a very useful way to get some flavour of what the job is like.
It's very easy to have sort of jobs where people, especially with conversations, they can tell you all the good parts, but they don't necessarily tell you some of the harder parts of that sort of job role, and being able to sort of bring them together. So it is that opportunity of sort of that opportunity to experience it is that sort of key part, isn't it? Really.
Sure.
I mean, we've had conversations before where people go from a school into a college sort of environment, and maybe they don't enjoy the whole sort of classroom learning environment, and potentially that's where apprenticeships come into play, where obviously with that apprenticeship there's work experience that's available to them. So if you were to think of the usual route for individuals to go from school to college and to university, maybe some people's sort of preference, where they find they don't necessarily thrive in the classroom, or they're looking for sort of more sort of hands-on vocational routes, that's where sort of apprenticeships obviously come in and can sort of be more that hands-on element for people to progress through.
Also,
so Roger,
about as you say, about the practical skills, but also your soft skills as well. So going into a work placement, having work experience can improve your soft skills and things like confidence. All right, it's very, very important, and we can't get past that idea of confidence, which also then stimulates your enthusiasm. Those are really key elements, aren't they, Martin? Any job, enthusiasm.
It definitely is. I mean, we've had a very sort of recent experience where we've had a young person that will admit very, very shy, very timid. Doesn't like to sort of broach into sort of a new environment. Took us, used the opportunity of an experience to come into sort of more of that sort of networking, social experience, and it sort of gave her that confidence. So everything you're sort of referring to there, it sort of makes that better person for them as well. So it's certainly those different ways to sort of go through.
It's about your soft skills as well. That's what we're trying to say. It isn't just what you're learning or what you're experiencing, but about you yourself. So whether you're a good communicator or become a good communicator, part of a team player, solving problems, all those kind of things. Again, not again, but this time we're also saying you can use those skills in other careers. But going on a work experience has actually identified those and helped you with those skills. Very important.
It often is things that employers look for as well, is to having that sort of practical experience. You may think, it's only a week or 2 weeks sort of placement with them, but it is that opportunity of demonstrating or developing those skills. So just talk to me then, Roger, about the different types of work experiences that there are available out there for people.
Okay, well, getting back, we keep repeating ourselves here, but that's the way it is with conversation. Going back, school or college work experiences, the most famous, or shall I say, infamous kind of work placement that everyone should go on, whether they do or not. Is a tricky one, particularly, as I say, with COVID and all that kind of thing we've had recently, and funding issues. Also, the work-related courses do have placements. So the BTECs and T levels, etc., and certain degrees will have part of their program work placements. So and that's part of the qualifications. So that's another one. Also, you could, as part of the careers, have some work shadowing. Okay, so if you're in a program already, whether it's a college or at school or with a training provider such as ourselves, you could get some work shadowing. Work shadowing is where you observe people in their jobs role for maybe a day or maybe a week, just so you get an insight into the job and the responsibilities and tasks, and you're able obviously to talk to them about their work and whatever. It's not the same as what we would think of work experience, but it is an opportunity to, first of all, go into a work environment, also to talk to a person or people about their job roles and observe them. It is very useful. And also it's in many ways easier to get than a long-term work placement, but you need to have that contact, really. There are virtual work experiences which are online, digital or remote. Martin, do you know much about those? Sorry to put you on
No, no, I
the
know
spot
from
there.
sort of national careers point of view, because I do a lot of following them on sort of social media. I know they've promoted a lot of these sort of opportunities, allowing people to, in sort of more digitalized sort of workplaces. So they are things like digital marketing, social media, those sort of opportunities where they sort of have a sort of more of a manager that's sort of directly managing them sort of remotely.
Yes.
I'm aware of those. I can't say that I've sort of participated
No,
in any
no,
or sort of facilitated,
yeah, yeah,
but I do think a lot of this, it comes on the back of sort of COVID. Obviously, that move towards sort of virtual and hybrid working places. So these
yes,
are things that are out there, and there are obviously
sure.
jobs that are sort of operating that same way.
Sure. They are more digital-based jobs, I would say, though, obviously by that kind of thing, really. There are also virtual volunteering opportunities as well. So you could actually, so if you currently had a job or a part-time job, you could still do volunteering. Again, that's really good, but also it's the feel-good factor if you're volunteering. Okay. And that's usually associated with charities and stuff like that. But that's
Yeah.
really good. And on the back of that, you could find part-time jobs or after-hour jobs, which some people do. So if you're working part-time currently, or you're working 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, there's an opportunity to find jobs at weekends or evening to actually get extra work experience. Also, if you've got friends or family, particularly if they've got their own businesses, you could find opportunities there to get work experience. Obviously, you need to get all this kind of checked out beforehand for insurance, health and safety purposes, like for all of these. But particularly if you're going to work with friends or families, it may be that they're working on their own or something like that. So you may have to check that out. Okay. And of course, you could start your own business.
Yeah, no, a lot of it just sort of shows you that these experiences are sort of out there for you to sort of jump into, isn't it? Really, which I suppose leads us on to sort of a very well positioned one for the next one. I know we've made a mention a couple of times, but how can people actually find out about these work experience opportunities? I know you've mentioned sort of friends and family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We've mentioned the National Career Service that have a lot of resources and information on there for anybody that's looking at that sort of career next steps. Are there any others that you can sort of share
Well,
with us there, Roger?
in the main, it's very similar to looking for a job. I mean, the whole thing is like looking for a job. Okay, it might be part-time or whatever, but it's very similar. So you could approach local companies and organizations. Now, in the world of the internet and websites, it's a lot easier to research that kind of thing. Okay, in the past, it used to be it used to be shedding the leather on your shoes to knock on doors and whatever, which you can still do. But I think local companies and organisations that are related to what you're interested in would be very useful. And likewise, the national companies and organisations, you can do the same as well. You can do online job searches. So with the usual, like Indeed and those kind of things, I've just picked one out there, which is a bit naughty, but there are many other job search sites that you can do that. As we said earlier, using your contacts, yeah, and also think beyond traditional businesses. Think about charities, yeah, or any volunteering organisations, anything like that. Um, because they are more open to you having work experience if you're prepared to work for in your own time for no recompense as such. Okay, you would get valid work experience with them. Okay, and they'll be overjoyed to get support. There is a dedicated website called Do It, which if you contact us, we'll give you the exact details, but that's a very useful site for getting volunteering work placements. Okay, and they're very flexible on timing and things like that. So I think, in the main, looking for work experience is very similar to looking for a job. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely,
and
definitely.
follow the nose like that, really.
I mean, there's some information I can share here. So we do have sort of a new servicing scheme that's available now for those that are over 19, and these are skills boot camps. So these are
Yes,
government funded programs can run up to sort of 16 weeks at time, and that there's obviously learning that's involved. There's also that work experience element as well, and it is there designed to give, to give exposure to people to develop the necessary knowledge, skills, and behaviours. The good thing is as well, at the end of the skills boot camps, there are guaranteed job interviews with those employers as well, and then hopefully people can sort of use those as an opportunity to gain those skills, that knowledge, and then also that job on the end of it as well. In addition, there are things like apprenticeship opportunities where there is less expectation for you to have as much work experience, but those programs are designed to give you that exposure to work experience, as opposed to college sort of classroom based learning. You're developing these skills and how to sort of gain those skills and move forward. So then, Roger, we've covered a lot.
Just quickly,
yes,
if you're signing on, getting job seekers or universal credit, you can use the job centre. They've got the program Work Together, which is the volunteering one, but also they do offer work trials. Now, the only way you can find out is really for you to actually contact the job centre about those. Really, they should be offering those to you anyway, but sometimes you need to push it a little bit more, show your awareness that of opportunities that are there. But as I say, one particularly is called Work Together, but that's volunteering. But there's also work trials, and you will continue to get your benefits while you're on those programs. And again, they should prove very useful, because the people that are the employers that are offering those trials will have been vetted by the job centre. Okay.
Brilliant.
Sorry about that, Martin.
No, useful information, great insight there. Thank you. And then obviously that leads on. I don't think we've sort of covered this yet. I know a lot of the questions have sort of flowed into each other. But how do people prepare for work experience?
Okay. Well, yet again, it's very similar to preparing for a job. Yeah. Very, very similar. So beforehand, research the company, the organisation, check what they're about, where their locations are. All that kind of is really important. Again, just because you may be volunteering or just going to be there for a week or 3 months or maybe even 6 months, dress appropriately. If you're not too sure company beforehand, okay, and they will advise you on that. And of course, 1 week you may be, I don't know, on if it's a kind of building company, you may be 1 week actually in the warehouse, so you dress one way, and then next in a couple of weeks' time you may be in the offices and you dress a different way. So you need to be aware of that. It's very, very important. Also, punctuality is the key. Again, the idea that you're doing a work experience is exactly the idea that if you're going to be there working permanently. So you need to make sure you're aware of the times. On the back of that, make sure that you know what the public transport or your transport is going to be, to make sure you get there. Bring any necessary documentation beforehand. They may well have asked you for certain details, whether it's something simple as national insurance number or birth certificate, depending on the kind of job the experience you're going to be doing. Now, in your own mind, clarify what you want to get out of that work experience. It could be, and we haven't really mentioned this, just to make your CV look better. Okay, the fact you've got qualifications, whether it's the degree or level 3 BTEC or something like that, you will need to have work experience on there to improve your opportunity to getting either an interview or passing the interview. So, CV is very, very important, as you well know. And if it's not your CV when you write your job application, we may not be sending a CV, but you can use those details off your CV of the work experience to integrate that into your job application. While you're on the work experience, don't be afraid to ask questions. I know a lot of you are very enjoy talking and whatever and asking questions. Some of us don't, particularly in a work environment, but do ask questions. At the same time, be open-minded about the kind of work experience you're having, what opportunities they may offer you. So if they say, would you like to try this? Or I think we can try that, be open-minded and accept it, because the wider the experience, the wider the knowledge and skills you have, and it helps you select your career options for the future.
No, great. Thank you
Martin.
for. I'd say that there's a lot to take in there,
There is.
and sort of how to prepare for it. And a lot of it does apply to, as you say, as if it was for a job or
Yeah,
even just for an interview. You know, make
yeah.
sure you've got the documents, you're turning up on time. They are all things that employers do look for in terms of the criteria when they're looking at, you know, who that next hire is, and potentially you want that to be yourself. So I think you've covered quite a bit of this part, you know, how to make the most of that work experience placement. You know, in terms of asking questions, I think is always a key one.
That's
Is
part
there
of it,
anything?
isn't it, really?
Yeah, as I say, is there anything else there that you wanted to sort of add to that one, Roger, at all?
Well, I mean, in addition to it, like, you're setting clear goals, really, of what you want from there. Okay, as I say, you may be focused on, well, I want to get the skills and experience from hands-on for myself anyway, but also for my CV. So you know, a lot of it is helping each other out, really. You would be sensible in asking for feedback and guidance, really. So I'm not saying every day you should ask from your supervisor or the manager for feedback and guidance, but it'd be very important for you to get that. Again, it helps you understand what your skills are, hard or soft, and how to look forward in your career options. So, you know, that built in a bit of reflection, doesn't it, really, Martin?
Yeah.
I think it's very important to document that. I know I work a lot with apprentices and learners, and what I say to them, document down any compliments you've had, any feelings of you've done some good work, but make sure you document it, you write it down, or you type it in somewhere, because it's very difficult to forget. You might say, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. And you're so busy the next day that you forget about it, and then it just goes and you forget about it. But these feelings of good work, compliments you've had, are all very useful for applications and for your CV as well. All right. So I think from what Martin has been saying as well, work experience is really an ongoing process. All right. So it's not just the tasks you complete, but the skills and knowledge you gain as well, and the relationships and personal development you get. So all those things are inbuilt into your work experience, as it would be in a job environment. So that, I think that's very, very important. And some of it you can't write down, you know, but a lot of it you can. But I think the relationships that you get can be very, very important for the current, but also for the future, for networking and stuff like that.
Brilliant. No, great. Thank you again, Roger. And then just sort of looking to sort of finalise and wrap up on this sort of information session. So, I mean, I know we've spoken about a couple of different sites as we've gone through. You know, good supporting information sites. National Career Service, I've always sort of gone to that to the last, well, 10, 15 years, if not longer. It's good for sort of identifying those skills that people need to sort of progress through. There's also that opportunity to sort of searching courses and sort of job profiles and things as well. Are there any other sort of useful sites that you could think of yourself, Roger?
Well, as I say, they're the regular ones that people go on, whether it's Indeed and all the rest, you know. Also, the National Apprenticeship website is a useful one. You may, in as much as, again, with the National Career Service, it's not just about the jobs, but also about the background information on there. It identifies what skills you need, the kind of career options that are available from doing that job and things like that. And the National Apprentice website is very similar to that, but it's more pointed towards younger age group, and the ability to absorb information from that might be a little easier for younger people and whatever, because it's directed towards them, and it's very useful very useful indeed.
And
Yes.
obviously, there's opportunities of sort of engaging with the tutors that are sort of facilitating the learning, the opportunities. There's
Yes.
also the conversation with friends and family as well. It's always quite interesting to know what sort of the younger generation or others anyway are just sort of aspiring toward what sort of careers they're going through. I mean, I
Yes.
know myself, sort of the role maybe 9 till 5, but from a careers guidance point of view, if somebody mentions, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, it's okay, find out more about it, and it is that supporting role that we look to play ourselves. So obviously,
Yes.
Roger, I know that you've done a sort of huge amount of work with these articles and information here. We have put together a selection. We do call it our careers hub. So there's lots of information. We are looking to supplement this with obviously the likes of these webinar recordings as well, to make it easier for people to access in sort of shorter and sharper
Yes.
opportunities where we physically can't necessarily be with you at this moment in time. At any point, you can scan the QR code. It will take you onto it. Whether it's via a mobile device, you'll be able to have the same access to the information that we've put out there. What we have also is obviously Roger is available for any of those that are looking for that additional support. We do send out information, such as this recording here, along with sort of the articles. Well, this does go out, and you do have the opportunity of picking up with Roger if you want, looking for that advice, whether you're a young person, whether you're a mature individual, and you're looking for what those next steps may involve. Roger is there to sort of reach out to, so whether it's an email or a phone call through to him, or by going through onto the Careers Hub resource site, there's plenty of information to pick up from there. Roger, are there any sort of concluding thoughts that you wanted to offer before we finish today's session at all?
Well, I think the fact is that if anyone is particularly interested, that they should contact us. If they're already with us, then check out the information we've got available either via your tutors or by us. We've got very useful information sheets where it's anything from if you're feeling uncomfortable in your work environment, or if you feel that you are unsure about where to progress next after the current employment or apprenticeship or learning option that you're on. There's plenty of information around, but I think it would be best to contact me directly for that. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I enjoy doing, and supporting each individual that we come in contact with, Martin.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Roger. Thank you for your time. Thank you for fielding my questions there. I know it was nothing to sort of make you uncomfortable, and you dealt with those quite nicely there. But yes, we are available for conversations. Please do visit the website. So that's pathwaygroup.co.uk/careers-hub. There's lots of information on there, and that they are there to support individuals into opportunities. So from us, it's a thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye now.
Okay. Goodbye. Bye-bye.